Throughout the land of Skyrim, there are many marked locations that the player can visit easily by using the compass on the screen. But in this video, I'll be focusing on the more unknown and unmarked locations that are dotted around Skyrim's landscape. More specifically, I'll be focusing on showcasing the location of 18 of the 36 unmarked locations within Falkreath Hold. Before I get into the first location, I just quickly want to wish you all a happy new year. If you want to stay up to date with this series, or any other Elder Scrolls series on my channel, then please consider leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. Now without further ado, let's begin with number 1. The first location that we will be taking a look at is probably missed most of the time by the average player. Usually the first thing a lot of us do is go to Riverwood to progress the main story, but if we do that, then we will be actually locking ourselves out of a really horrific location. If you travel east of Helgen and stay on the main road before you go to Riverwood, then you can stumble across a Khajiit caravan. Unfortunately, all of the members have been slaughtered, and coincidentally, if we investigate the scene, then we will be attacked by the bandits responsible. After clearing out the enemies, you are free to loot the area. There are tons of bodies to loot, a speech skill book to read, a chest to open, and also random bits of scattered loot around the area. If you go to Riverwood first, then this location will never show up again. Our next stop is also a time sensitive location in terms of what loot you can get. Just a little ways northeast from the previous location, we can stumble across a wild animal den called Orphan's Tear. If you come here straight after Helgen, then you will find 2 wolves in their den, along with a coin purse and the body of a deceased Nord woman. If you loot her body, you may find a skill book like I did. If you choose to come here after Riverwood, then nearby will be a Stormcloak camp who seem to have dealt with the nearby wolves. Furthermore, the woman's body seems to have been moved, but whoever moved it forgot to take the coin purse with them, and so that will be the only loot in this location. Southeast of Helgen on the icy slopes, there is the final resting place of an individual who had been executed here long ago. The headless skeleton is being held up the tree by a chest that has some random loot inside. Also near the chest is a conjuration skill book to add to your collection. Finally, if you choose to do so, you can take the axe for yourself and sell it for some gold. Leaving Riverwood by the south gate and trekking up the snowy hills will lead you to a smaller path leading up to the Skybound Underhang bandit camp. Here you will find 2 bandits around a warm campfire trying to keep away the biting cold of the snowy mountains. Upon getting closer they will attack, and after defeating them you will be free to loot the area. You can find a chest that is holding some of the bandits' loot and a skill book that will increase your block skill. Furthermore, for the people who like to cook a nice warm meal, there is a sack and 2 barrels where you can loot some provisions. If you return to Helgen, leave through the western gate and travel down the cobblestone road, you will eventually see off to the side the Helgen Cliffs bandit camp. Upon further investigation we can see various dead animals, a tanning rack and a rabbit that is soon to be skinned. There are a few bedrolls and the fire is still burning, meaning that whoever was here hasn't long left. There is a light armor skill book to read, a minor healing potion, a beehive nearby and also some bear traps in the foliage. Finally, there is a novice locked chest with a random assortment of loot, but be warned, if you loot the chest, then the bandits will come from behind and ambush you. From this camp, we can go southwest up the hill to find the next unmarked location, the Prospector's Shack on Bone Chill Ridge. At first, this seems like a nice scenic location, but after getting closer, we start to see the beginning of an unfortunate tale. Just outside the shack is the charred remains of presumably a man and his wife. You can loot them for some random bits of loot and then head inside the shack to find out what happened. On the table there is a silver necklace as well as a note that reads, "I have heard talk about the dragons, but didn't believe it until now. One flew by last week and ever since we have seen him fly back and forth from a nearby mountain peak. My wife thinks we should move away, go somewhere else. I told her that would be nonsense. As long as we don't bother it, it won't bother us. Still, I thought it would be best if we report it to the local authorities. The creature's lair is just south of the hill behind our shack near Bear's Cave Mill." After reading the note, we can put together that the nearby dragon came down from the mountains and put an end to these 2 individuals who just wanted to have a peaceful life. Reading this note will also add the location Ancient's Ascent on the map. To the left of this table there is a chest and underneath the bed is a pickpocket skill book. To get to the next location you need to follow the waterfall that is near the shack to the bottom. As you come down on the left there is the Pine Watch Heights bandit camp. Upon arriving you will encounter a couple of bandits who have murdered a dark elf who was camping here. After you have got rid of them you can loot their bodies as well as the dark elf for a bit of extra gold. You can also find an alteration skill book tucked away in the tent, and finally there is a tanning rack to get some leather from any of the beasts or animals that you have hunted along the way. From here we need to trek up the nearby mountain to come to the hunters camp on the upper Pine Watch Ridge. This little camp is tucked away on the corner of a ridge and is right next to a primary location called Ancestor Glade. There is usually a hunter who camps here that you can trade with for some skins or sell any of your unwanted items. Unfortunately for me, however, they weren't here. I'm not sure if they met an unfortunate end or perhaps they were currently on a hunt. Regardless, in terms of the loot, there is a few ice wolf pelts, a snow bear pelt and a novice locked chest to unlock that contains the absent hunter's belongings. If you're in need of some food, then there is some meat as well as some random items in the pot to the left. The next unmarked location is one that I'm pretty sure most of us have encountered at least once in one of our playthroughs. The reason this one is so common to find is because it is located on the main road between Helgen and Falkreath. Here you will find a bridge that bandits are using to attack people that are using the main road. If you go under the bridge, then they will trigger a trap that drops boulders. The loot found here is nothing really too interesting. Of course you can loot the bodies of the bandits, but other than that there is a bow and some arrows to take from a table. Just a little ways north of the bandit bridge we can find a wild animal den. You may get attacked by the wild animals that live here, but after taking them out you're free to look around. This location is scattered with the remains of previous kills, one being recent as it still has blood on the bones. Near that skeleton is also an old cart and a novice locked chest. For those who like alchemy, there are some mushrooms growing near the skeletal remains of various other animals and humans alike. Not far from here is a conjurer's altar that is near Lake Ilinata. When approaching the altar, you will notice a mist shrouding the area and you may even find a conjurer that will attack you on sight. On the altar, you can find a conjuration skill book, a sword, some gold coins and finally some embalming tools. From here, travel a few paces southwest and you will find the body of a woodsman who may have been murdered by the conjurer. Near his body is the unique two-handed axe called the Woodman's Friend. For this next location, we will need to retrace our steps. The location is simply known as the Bloodlet Peaks Dragon Mound and it opens up after the main quest, Aldwin's Wall. There is nothing really interesting about this area in terms of any loot, and the only reason I'm adding this is because they are included in the official strategy guide for the game. East of the Conjurer's Altar is the location of yet another unfortunate tale. Whilst wandering the Ilinalta foothills, you will find a path that leads off the main road and goes up the hill. Up there you will see the aftermath of a slaughter and nearby there is a body of a dead Thalmor soldier. When you search his body you can find some random bits of loot, a guaranteed enchanted piece of armour and also a note called Thalmor's Orders. The note reads, Agent Sanyon, in response to your report dated 22nd of Morningstar 401, your request for an expeditionary force is hereby denied. Sanyon, this is the 7th report you have filed this month, and not one of your leads, not one, has returned up so much as a shed of evidence that a Talos shrine exists up in the Lake Ilinalta region. No prisoners, no documents, nothing. Our forces are stretched thin enough as it is, and I have better missions, better agents to assign them to. If you feel so sure of your informant, investigate this yourself, come back with proof or not at all. By my hand and seal, Elenwyn. The soldier came to investigate reportings of a Talos shrine in the area, which the Thalmor have forbid. When he got here, he must have seen these pilgrims worshipping, and because of that he murdered them. The worshipper laying nearest to the soldier's body has a knife, and so I'm assuming that he must have defended himself and in doing so got revenge almost immediately. On the shrine there is a few bits of gold as well as a sword and a Talos shrine to wipe away any diseases if you have any. The next location is literally a stone's throw away from the previous one. If you head directly east from the Talos shrine, you will find the Ilinalta Foothills bandit camp. Here there are 3 bandits going about their daily business. If you get too close they will stand on guard and eventually attack you. After disposing of them you are free to take whatever you want. In the tent on the left you can find a one-handed skill book. Directly across from that, in the other tent, you can find some necromancer robes. Just outside that tent there is a tree stump with an apothecary satchel as well as a coin purse. Make sure you don't forget to loot the bodies, because on one of them there will be the first treasure map, which can be found across from Riverwood in a hollow tree. If you head a little southwest from the Guardian Stones you will find a fisherman sitting around a fire, as well as doing other things. If you look inside the tent you can steal a coin purse. Just to the left of the tent is a novice lock chest that you can steal from. Also very close nearby is an iron ore deposit for you to mine. From the fisherman's camp you can head across the river and then follow the shoreline west until you see some stones sticking out of the water. Now at this point you will need to take a dip because underneath is a sunken barrow. In here you can find all sorts of loot such as a chest, a mace, some clams, soul gems and Nordic barnacles for alchemy. Make sure you keep an eye out for slaughterfish and also bring a water breathing potion so you don't drown. I feel like these days most people know about the mystery happening at Anis's cabin, but what I think is more lesser known is the extremely minor location near here. If you head southeast and come to the cliff edge near the water, you can find a pine tree and the remains of an animal. Inside is a flawless emerald that didn't digest. The final location I'll be showing in this video is most definitely a common one too, but I'll include it regardless because it's still technically an unmarked location. If you use the path up to Bleakfall's Barrow, then you will need to go past the Riverwood Folly Tower. Guarding this tower will be 3 bandits, and so after you have defeated them you can loot their bodies. There is a coin purse on a table, and finally at the top of the tower is a chest to loot. In the next video in the series I'll be showing you the other 18 locations that are left in Falkreath Hold. Thank you for watching.